Welcome back to Proof or Potion, the health and wellness podcast where we critically evaluate holistic health research to figure out if trendy lifestyle hacks, supplements, or wellness tools are actually supported by science or if it's just viral fairy dust.
That's right. Each week, we break down one human clinical trial or a systematic review or meta-analysis of multiple human clinical trials to help you, the listener, decide whether an intervention is proof or a potion.
Today, we are looking at the research for a very trendy topic. I'm actually excited about this. Weighted vest wearing for weight loss. So the question here is, can wearing a weighted vest either increase weight loss in conjunction with calorie restriction, or can it help you keep it off longer? Or, of course, is it just a TikTok trend that doesn't really do anything at all?
Yeah, I've been seeing this all over my social media and just hearing about it. And I'm very curious what the research actually says.
Yeah, me too. And just to general conversation about weight, right? Like, I feel like this is we're hearing about it in the news almost every day right now about people using medications to lose weight. And just, it's always a concern, for, especially for women, but also for men too. I don't want to leave them out of this.
Absolutely.
And really, when we look at weight loss, there's two big parts, right? How do you lose weight? And then how do you keep that weight off? And such a thing, right? I know I've lost weight, gained, lost weight. They say you gain and lose the same 10 pounds a million times, right? Totally been there.
Yes, same, more than that. I would say I've been through, 40-pound fluctuations in my life. And I think that sustainability piece is the most important. And I know for myself personally, I've gone on journeys of severe calorie restriction. And then once I've lost the weight, then you have to stay in that calorie restriction indefinitely. And I know people who can't eat more than 900 calories a day, even though they're exercising, but they're so tired because they're malnourished and it's really hard you almost have to slowly work your way back up. And it's super challenging to not only lose the weight, but then be able to eat a normal, healthy diet and exercise. This is such a struggle for people. And so if there's ways that we can sustainably lose weight and maintain a healthy, metabolic rate and amount of calories and activity, that's the goal. Is healthy, sustainable weight loss.
Yeah. And that's another thing that I think I see a lot personally with myself and with people around me is maybe you have been able to lose weight multiple times. So you've gone through multiple weight loss cycles. And it's kind of like the more you do that, the harder it actually gets to lose the weight in the initial period, not just to keep weight loss off, right?
Yeah.
But you become metabolically busted a little bit. Of the calories that it takes to sustain you on a daily level doesn't really match with what you're able to eat and not gain significant amounts of weight. And that's definitely been a struggle for myself. And so when I see something about, does some trendy tool or method not only help us lose weight, but also help us keep it off, my little antenna go up, because this is such an important topic for all of us. And weight has so many possible downstream effects on our health as whole.
Yes. But the big question is, what is the best way to lose weight and sustain a healthy metabolism?
So the internet is basically saying that this weighted vest wearing is this golden ticket, right, for weight loss. So let's go ahead and dive into the research that we have today and see what it's actually telling us. So what do we got?
I'm super excited. Okay. So today's article is titled, Does Weighted Vest Use During Weight Loss Influence Long-Term Weight Loss Maintenance? A pilot study in older adults living with obesity and osteoarthritis. It was led by researchers Kristen Beavers and her team at Wake Forest University in North Carolina, and it was published in the International Journal of Obesity in May of 2025. So 37 older adults around the age of 70 who had a BMI greater than 35 were given the opportunity to lose weight over the course of 6 months. All individuals were put on a medical weight loss program focused on a diet of between 1,100 and 1,300 calories per day. A registered dietitian led weekly group sessions to coach them on portions, food choices, and how to stick to the plan.
The weight loss participants were then divided into two groups. So everybody's losing weight, but now we have two groups. One was weight loss only, and one was weight loss plus a vest. So the weight loss plus vest group got a special vest that was fitted to fit under their clothes without restricting their movement. They were then asked to wear that vest up to 10 hours a day during their most active time. The weight of the vest started out super light, but the weight was slowly added each week to match the amount of weight they had lost. So if they lost 10 pounds, then they had 10 pounds added to the vest in order to keep the load on their body the same.
Data was measured at 0, 6, and 24 months and included things like age, sex, race, height, and weight. For body composition, they used a DEXA scan, which are like x-rays that show fat and lean mass such as muscle and bone. Resting metabolic rate, which is basically how many calories your body burns just chilling, doing things like breathing and keeping your heart going, was measured as well.
So what did this study actually show us? Both groups, and remember they were all losing weight, so they all lost between 22 and 24 pounds in that first 6 months. But at the 24-month follow-up, the group that wore the vest had kept off about half of that weight loss. So they were still down 10-ish pounds from start, while the non-vest wearing group had regained all of their weight, and even a few participants had gained additional weight.
An even cooler outcome had to do with resting metabolic rate. The vest group had a very small drop in the resting metabolic rate, which means that their metabolism stayed basically consistent throughout the 6 months of losing weight, and that they could eat the same amount of calories without being worried about gaining weight.
So cool.
The no vest group saw a drop in metabolic resting rate of about 237 calories out of that 1,200 or so, meaning their metabolism slowed down and that eating the same amount of calories as when they started would actually lead to weight gain.
That's so crazy. Okay, there were no major side effects here that popped up in like the vest wearing group, but we got to remember this is a really small group, and this 37 people started, right? And then only 18 people came back for that 24-month follow-up. Also, we have no real data on what they did for the 18 months that they were they called it free living, right? So they just got to do whatever they wanted once the 6 months had ended.
Okay, so why is this so important?
Why are we excited? I'm so excited about this.
We kind of just breezed through those results, but if we ask, does wearing the weighted vest, along with, paying attention to calorie intake, help with weight loss and specifically sustained weight loss?
So first question is weight loss, right? They said
the same.
It was exactly the same. So both groups, whether you wore a vest or not, as long as you were on that restricted calorie diet, your weight loss was the same. So
the coolest part was the preserved resting metabolic rate.
Yeah.
So let's rehash a little bit what that
go
is,
into
what that means.
Yeah. So resting metabolic rate is a measurement where it's basically how many calories does it take to like sustain your body if you just like do nothing. If so, like think if we were like hunters and gatherers, right? We wouldn't be like up and out hunting every single day. There would be days where we were just kind of like hungered down and like chilling and just kind of like living our little like tribe life, right?
Or if you work from home and you're just typing on your computer, printing a few calories if we were hunter gatherers, or just remote work from home employees, and then
we're sitting
Netflix and chilling,
Netflix and chill
all night.
How many calories a day does it take to sustain that? And this is different for every single human, right? We all have our own resting metabolic rate.
For a number of different reasons.
Yes.
Diet or, lifestyle,
hormones,
how much you're moving, age, gender, genetics.
So, okay. So if we just let's pretend like your resting metabolic rate is 12, or mine is 1,200 calories. So if I do literally nothing all day and just chill, I need 1,200 calories, not dollars, to sustain my body. Okay. So what happens in weight loss that makes losing weight and keeping it off hard is that resting metabolic rate actually goes down. So let's say all of a sudden I now only need 1,000 calories to keep my body going throughout the day. What happens when I eat the same thing I always eat? Because now I'm so used to eating 1,200 calories, but my RMR, my resting metabolic rate, is lower. So now I'm eating in surplus 200 calories a day. Right? What's going to happen to my body? I'm going to gain weight, right? That's exactly what that means. So the idea that there's something that can preserve that resting metabolic rate even during weight loss. And why does it lower in weight loss? I like so when you're losing weight, you're usually in a calorie restriction, right? So the body just slowly adjusts because it says, wow, if you're going to restrict calories for me, I need to be able to use less calories.
There's different sensing mechanisms that tell your brain and your hunger signals and your satiety signals what size your body is so that you eat a certain amount. And so that resting metabolic rate is a result of that information for a lot of different reasons, right? But part of it is how the size of your body and the weight of your body telling your brain what type of metabolic rate you need to sustain your current size.
And so in general, the body does not want to lose weight. The brain says if the body is losing weight, then I'm starving and I could be in danger of dying, right? So the body is skewed to not lose weight. So that's why the body can adjust and say, well, if you're going to give me fewer calories, then I need fewer calories, right? Because I ultimately don't want to lose so much weight. So the theory behind this, the whole weighted vest thing, though, is this really cool thing. So it's called the gravitostat theory. So think gravity, thermostat together, gravitostat.
Gravitostat.
Yes. And it's the theory that we have these cells, they're called osteocytes. They're little cells that as we know them now in like modern science, is they're the cells that build your bones, right? So they go along and they lay down the calcium and they kind of scooch along your bones and make them nice and strong. The theory is that those cells, specifically on the long bones in your legs, are sensing the gravity and the pressure of your body weight, and they're sending some unknown signal back up to the brain to either increase or reduce appetite to match the amount of pressure that's on them. So
fascinating.
It's so fascinating. And this is a study that
makes sense.
It totally does, right? That there's like all these mechanisms that are helping maintain body size, right? This is a theory that came out of a bunch of mice models. So there's some research behind it. But now this is the pilot study. So it's a study to see if we can actually do a study in a bigger group, see how we can actually really start testing this to see if it's legit or not.
I think it was just kind of pivoting. The theory is fantastic. And there's so much about weight loss that I feel like we're still exploring. The conventional model is really calories in, calories out, which we do know if you have too many calories, and this study proves it, that too many calories in general beyond your metabolic needs and what your body perceives as your metabolic needs will lead to weight gain. There's so many other systems at play. And so we won't go down every single one of those rabbit holes, which we could do another day. And with some other research, but since we're exploring the resting metabolic rate, I do think it was cool that the participants were obese and they did have osteoarthritis too, which I just want to point out because it makes me wonder about their level of activity and
their bone strength.
Their bone strength and ability to, I don't know, like exercise. And I think that it's great that that was across the board between the two groups, similar ages, similar conditions, and also probably fairly sedentary. If they were struggling with pain, they're older and they're obese, like we can just presume that maybe, there wasn't, at least there wasn't a large variation of activity. You don't have a 30-year-old CrossFit athlete and a 7-year-old obese patient with osteoarthritis. So I think that is an interesting subset of population that we could then expand to other groups and see how this would affect, a healthy middle-aged person trying to lose weight or people with other conditions. And I just think the preservation of that's such a key piece of weight loss
would change
and
so
sustainability
for so many.
Yeah.
So circling back to our original questions, right? First one was, does wearing a weighted vest help you lose weight?
We didn't really talk about that. It didn't change compared to the calories.
It didn't change, right? So at least in this trial, we'd need to look at a different study, right? To look at that more specifically. At least in this trial, we don't really see a huge benefit in the actual weight loss. But then when we ask that second question, did it help us keep the weight off? I am like, Heck yes, it totally did.
It totally did in this study, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. If anything, even if you still have to do the other interventions. Also, most people I know that are wearing weighted vests are doing it when they're active.
Yeah.
Is that the way you've experienced
Totally.
it? They're going on a hike with their weighted vest, or when they do their normal walk, they're adding the vest.
Right.
Versus, I'm not sure how active. They said wear during your most active times. Are they
up to 10 hours a day? So these people,
that's true.
They were wearing it like almost all day.
Yeah, which is that's kind of annoying actually.
Yeah,
I don't want to wear a vest under my clothes all day every day just to preserve my metabolic rate. Do you?
I don't know. I'm like, God, I'm totally ruined.
I feel like that's a really important little side note, because most people are looking for, most people I know wearing them are taking them out on their 2-hour or 4-hour hike, or
and then it's done.
Yeah. So that makes me a little less. So okay. So I don't know that I'm going to go out and get one after that. I was really excited, but then the 10-hour, you reminded me of the 10 hours a day. This is why it's important to read all the details of the study.
Yes.
And decide if it's actually feasible and what the biggest bang for your buck is, because I'm an efficiency person. I want something that I can do for 10 minutes a day and see a benefit, or wear during my workout.
I mean, it makes me just want to see a more long-term study. Remember, they only wore the vest for 6 months.
Yeah.
But at 2 years later, they still had weight loss.
That's true. That's pretty cool.
That is so cool to me. So it's
okay, we'll need to do it for a year, and then it'll last for 3.
Exactly. So what would it look like if you wore it for a couple hours each day for all the time? Right?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, there's some more experience.
There's so many more studies here that
there's a lot of rabbit holes. It also just brings up the idea of strength training in general.
Yes.
Because if you're just wearing the weighted vest and walking around doing activity, could you also just do resistance training? You had mentioned, but we were chatting about this. You use dumbbells now while you're walking.
I walk on
to
the
just
treadmill with
add
dumbbells.
a little bit of resistance. And we have always known the power of resistance training, specifically for insulin resistance and helping with glucose uptake into the cells.
Yeah.
And so we can explain that another time. But resistance training is gold for weight loss, insulin sensitivity, all of the things, metabolic health, preventing osteoporosis, all of the things. And so that just kind of gets my mind going too about just resistance training and stressing the bones in general.
Totally. So remember, this is a pilot study. This is a very first step in looking into this further. So from that perspective, first baby step into the world of can increasing the load on your body help you with weight loss or keeping it off? What do you think? Proof or potion?
I think proof for sure. And I really hope they do. Can you please do the next study?
Yeah, we're so curious.
Pins and needles over here. And can you try all the variations? That would be great.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm all in on this. I'm proof.
Are you going to go buy one?
Freaking, it's in my cart already. Anyway, so that's all we got for you.
Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks
a little bit longer today, longer discussion, but really cool study. So drop your thoughts, questions, comments, feedback. We want to hear it. Thanks so much for being here, and we will see you next week.
See you next week.